Baldwin City Council meeting for March 21st to order. Please, if you will join me and stand with the invocation and the pledge. Father God, thank you for another beautiful day, for the springtime. Please be with us as we make decisions for the city. Bless our first responders always. Bless all of our citizens. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're having a little bit of a tech problem, so Councilwoman Venter and I are sharing a mic tonight. For the folks who are on the Facebook feed, we do have full council again. We have our CAO, Ms. Woodmaster with us. We have our city clerk, Ms. Gathercole with us, and we have legal with us. Our city engineer is here, and our public works director is here, and we have representatives from fire, press, and we have folks in the gallery. First item on our agenda tonight is the consent agenda. Did everybody have a chance to read the minutes from March 10th? Comments, questions, concerns? No, seeing none. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Venter. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilwoman Davis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item on our agenda is public comments. If there's a Baldwin resident who has business with the council, please come forward, state your name and address. Mr. Wood, would you like to speak? You're just here to...
I'm here about the paving of the
Oh, okay.
next week.
Okay, sounds good.
I
We'll
don't
save
have
it.
any complaints tonight.
Very good. We'll
I'm
save
supposed
it.
to come up with one.
There are no public hearings this evening, so we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a report from our Public Works Director, Mr. Barnhart.
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Hope y'all are well. Instead of reading the monthly report we turn in every month, I'm just gonna hit the highlights so we can get home. All right, some of the completed projects are mostly completed projects. We've cleaned out the backwash pond at the water plant. It's cleaned out, but it's up on a bank drying, and we have to haul it off yet. That's still something we have to be doing here pretty quickly. We cleared the area down here at Gailey Park for the train observation deck. We got all that cleared out this winter. Ready to start on that. Cleared the roads during the snow. Worked on our fire hydrant maintenance list. Worked on the sewer deficiency list. Just got done. Mainly it's about 90% completed. Paving Davis, Batson, and Homer Drive. They're coming tomorrow to do the stop bars and everything on that, and it'll be pretty much completed. The PRV project for down the mountain, we've got a couple of them in already. We're waiting for the rest of them to come in. Hopefully we get started on that this summer. The pole barn is up over at the public workshop now. All the stuff's underneath it, so no longer being in the weather. Plus, you might have heard something about this. I think it might have come to your attention. We had a water main break. It's pretty severe. 10 years, worst one I've ever seen here. Learned a lot of things from it. Retirement age can't come quick enough. It's the main thing I learned. Just on that, there's some things that have come out of that we're getting ready to start on. The PRV project is one of those. We had to have MPE, Rick Barron, come out multiple times while we were trying to put water back in there and repressurize that system, adjusting PRVs that were just going wacky. And new PRVs are definitely a high point of getting them in. Something else we're looking into is meet with Russ Wednesday and point out some locations to install air and vacuum relief valves. What that'll help is when we're repressurizing the line, it allows the air somewhere to go. And instead of the weakest spot in the pipe. So that, hopefully that's gonna alleviate a lot of the issues down there. It's two projects we're looking forward to getting started pretty quick. I'd like to recognize everybody who came in, all the guys at Public Works who did that. The hours and the length of time was phenomenal they put in. Never heard a single complaint. I really like to give them kudos for that. I mean, that could have been a lot worse than it was. Special mention to Marty Kiesler, supervisor. He was right there with me the entire time and really did him too as far as getting involved in it. So some of the new projects coming up is the air relief valves down a mountain. Hope to get that kicked off here pretty soon. The Willingham beautification project. In case you don't know, one of the things we're doing is what they call the 7 hills on Willingham that they have to weed eat all the time.
Yeah.
We're not gonna weed eat them no more. We're gonna let them go el natural. We're actually, what we're gonna do is we're gonna till it up and we're planting wildflower
I
seeds
love
that are
that.
specific for
Yeah.
Georgia.
Pollinator.
I have a lot of hope that they will come up and they'll
Yeah.
look nice.
Yeah.
So that's something we're getting ready to do here in the next week or so.
Scott, can I
Expected to
pause you
see.
for just a second?
Sure.
Just to say that in particular makes me so happy because every time I drive down Willingham and see those poor guys, I mean, in the dead heat of summer,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking to myself, they couldn't pay me enough to do that. I really appreciate that you guys are doing that and how wonderful of a job you guys do, so.
Yeah, I think the wildflowers, South Carolina's real big about doing their
Mhm.
interstates with them, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of other places, and it really looks nice.
Yeah,
And there's no maintenance to them, so
Right.
trim around the edges of them and be good, so.
yes.
Hope you save a little time and make the city look better.
I love it.
The Banks County T-Splosh paving, we'll get into that here when we start talking about paving, that and Highland Point. We still have to haul the dirt from Backwash Pond to the landfill. Hopefully finish up the fire hydrant maintenance this spring, early summer. And then, get ready to build the salt storage building over the maintenance shop. That's pretty much the high points of it.
Scott, where's that going to go? Is that going to go in the back?
It's at the maintenance shop, which
Yeah.
is the old street shop.
Okay.
And we talked about it and decided to build it there mainly because everything will be in a centralized location we're not doing any vehicle maintenance at the new shop. All of it's done at the maintenance shop. So if the blades for the snow plows are there and everything, it just makes sense to have everything in one location where they can do it all and carry on with their time. So. And that's about it for that. Is there any questions? Suggestions, ideas?
I have an idea.
Okay.
We're gonna do away with retirement because you can't retire.
And I know we've said it from the dais before, but again, please express our thanks to your staff for
Okay.
the amazing work that they did. I mean, that was a 100-year disaster
Yeah.
that we had, and we know that the residents were suffering through that with no water for days and,
Right.
or in the boil water emergency. So that event has had trickle down consequences and effects.
All right.
For the city.
And one thing about it is that, not to get into too much, but the social media really causes a pain sometimes. I mean, it's a good idea, and I'm all about free speech, but sometimes the speech can be very hateful.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the derogatory comments that were received were pretty bad. They don't understand it. When there's a water break, these guys work until it's fixed. We don't like it any more than anybody who's inconvenienced by not having water. We feel the same way, but it's just, it's what they do. They're there until the job is completed, no matter how long it takes. And the last thing we want to do is see anybody out of water. I mean, we don't ever want to see that. If we could have that never happen again, everybody down there would be happy. And when it does happen, these guys don't just work 8 hours and go, okay, well, we're tired, we're going home. We'll turn the water back on in a couple of days for you. They work until it's completed, no matter how many hours it takes to do that. And they're knowledgeable.
I was asked to deliver pizza.
Yeah, right?
To you guys at night.
Right.
The road by the old beef bearing,
Mhm.
windy. dark,
Mhm.
cold. I don't know, what was it, like 8 o'clock at night? And they're in the hole, in
In
the
water.
water, in the cold.
Yep.
Yep.
And I'm like, here, these are pizzas. They're dirty, I mean, I didn't know what else to do for your
Right.
guys. And they were kind and jovial and appreciative
Yeah.
of something as simple as a pizza. They were absolutely amazing, watching how hard they worked, and unprotected from people who
Right.
were coming around a windy
Right.
road. I mean, that they were in jeopardy,
Right.
you know, every moment, and I know they were trying to watch out for each other, but, I mean, we've said this about police and fire too, that you guys do things that I can't even imagine, and thank you for working so hard to keep the water on for our
They
residents.
appreciate it, I know they all do, they appreciate everything mayor and council does for them, and they, it was just one of those things that, you know, we would love to never see another water break, we
Yeah.
really would.
Oh, man.
I mean, it would make our day.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
unfortunately, if you have a water system, those are gonna happen.
Right,
Well-
especially with the pressures that going down the
Right,
mountains.
right.
And if
Right.
anybody's been watching Atlanta, you know, they're talking about 20 years to redo all of their lines.
Yeah.
We know what happened last summer with the geysers that were in Atlanta,
Yeah.
so, you know, we have old pipes and we have a mountain system, and we're gonna have issues like this, so. But thank you, Scott.
Well, Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll go
Oh,
Okay, there being no old business, we will move on to new business. The first item is consideration approval, Soquel River Watershed Association fundraiser. Mr. Coppedge is here on behalf of the Soquel River Watershed Association. If you wanna give us about, 5 minutes and let us know what you do and who you are, and why it's important to the residents of Baldwin to have a relationship with folks, who are keepers of the Soquel.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's my pleasure. My name is Brad Coppedge. I'm City Council member in Clarksville. I also happen to be the board president of the Soquel River Watershed Association. I really appreciate the opportunity tonight, and also I'd like to commend the Public Works group again. Now I'm on this side of the table tonight, and it is great to hear the appreciation. These people do a great job, and it's thankless. I mean, it's just the things that they do that we need them to do, and they rise to the occasion every time.
Yes.
With that said, why don't we talk a little bit about the Soquel River Watershed Association? So thank you for this opportunity. We're entering our 27th year of service. We are a nonprofit. We are the sole stewards, they call us the stewards, over the Soquel River Watershed Association. And it's about 70% of the actual area of Habersham County. It's a 29-mile river that we basically monitor, and it provides 1/6 of all the water that goes into Lake Lanier. Okay? So it is a very important water source that needs to be protected. We started out in 1998 as an environmental group, kind of a group of activists that were going up and down the Soquel River looking for litigation situations. And again, that's probably not the best way to develop community involvement or engagement. But over the course of time, and especially after COVID, we are now more of a community engagement group. We want to work with the county, the cities, the businesses. We want to work with residents and landowners, because that's really where we need to be, especially if we're going to do the right things for this water system here. We really need to have those relationships. So a part of that is we've got a lot of issues that we deal with on the environmental side. So first of all, I'm going to try to get through these quickly so we can get into some questions. But there's a tremendous demand on our water consumption. We have a tremendous amount of that. And the biggest concern is the population growth for where we live. It's not going to slow. I mean, we're already feeling it, and one of the things that the SRWA is getting ready to work on is an actual consumption study that, with the Soquel being a major water source for Clarksville and Demarest as well as Cornelia, there is a point of where there's going to be more outtake than actual standard availability. So we're really concerned about that. I think if we do the correct study, and we're speaking in terms of educating the right people, we can start thinking of things that we need to do to build for that future consumption demand, okay? Growing concern that we're experiencing is also some of our water tables are starting to disappear in the sense of our groundwater. One of the things that we've talked over in Clarksville is we've got some areas very close to the Clarksville area that the wells are drying up. And the only way these people are going to get water is if the cities put in more water lines and get water to them. So that's another area that we need to be monitoring. And again, counties, cities, most of government agencies are not set up to do this. So if you don't have nonprofits like ours, just keeping track of everything, especially on the environmental side, then things slip through the cracks, as we all know. Also, one thing that we could be talking about too is start thinking about building some reservoirs up here, just making sure that we're thinking 15, 20 years out. We've got to start thinking in those particular terms. Water testing. So we test about 20 sites weekly up and down the Sequoia River. And you may say, well, how does that really impact us? Because I think you pull most of your water from the Chattahoochee. So here's how it impacts you, is that everything flows downstream. So the Chattahoochee River Keepers, it's kind of like our parent company, even though we're not totally connected. We do work well together. But they were they had a report that just came through recently. There is a business in Habersham County that was just put on the alert list where they're discharging high levels of chemicals and metal filings that are going directly into the Sequoia, coming directly down where you guys are as far as where you're pulling your water out. We're in the process of monitoring that. And again, when you think about county permits to do those types of discharges that are 20, 30, 40 years old, we need to get back in and start meeting with these companies to make sure that they're up to today's standards, okay? Every once in a while, we do trash and debris cleanup. So this last weekend, we went out to an area on 197 along the Sequoia, and we picked up 16 bags, 40 pounds of bag in a 1/8 mile area. So we also pulled out, and you can't make this stuff up. We car tires, a baby mattress, throw rugs, a car clutch, car window, silk fences, fishing line, styrofoam bait containers, and roadside metal signs that I'm sure the county's still looking for. So, you know, you start thinking about in that 1/8 of a mile public access there, we found all of that. We could spend all day trying to find the debris and the trash that's not only in that highway to the actual creek or to the river bank area, but in the water as well. We're also noticing flooding frequencies, and this is again, everybody said, well, it's flooding more often, it's raining more often, we're getting more water. The tributaries and rivers are filling up with silt. You raise the floor bottom of the river and the creeks, they're going to flood. So the SRWA has got to figure out how we can bring in grant monies to start pulling silt sedimentation out of these tributaries, the river, lower the water levels when we actually can. We're going to do a better job of creating grant programs so that when we go in and we open up a development, whether it's residential or commercial, let's make sure that that developer and the city managers know that there are available pavers which slows down water flowing, like runoff. It actually absorbs water, so less water is going into your storm drains and your culverts. The SRWA has also started a new program where we actually go in, we do it, or we bring a third party in and we inspect culverts so they're working properly. We're also inspecting your storm drains. We're giving all of that information back to you because the EPA, within this next 12-month period, you're going to have all that information already recorded and turn it over to them. So you're talking about GIS mapping, you're talking about pictures, what's the level of maintenance needed on that particular storm drain or whatever else. So we're really trying to become those partners that are helping these cities stay compliant, because the fines will be outrageous if we're not where we need to be. Clarksville's already gone all the way through that process. I would love to talk more about that with Baldwin. As far as, let me just share a couple more things here and then we'll get into questions. If we deplete forestry, if we take out area of vegetation, riparian buffers, there ought to be a way in zoning and planning in all these cities where you take it out, we should be putting something back in. It's just the balance that we all need to be thinking about. And we sometimes look the other way, thinking, believing that a developer, and I'm sure the intentions are good, but sometimes they aren't. And we leave with pavement or just massive amounts of red clay, erosion, and it goes right into our rivers. We started something recently. We're restoring our vital school education outreach program. So we are going to multiple schools. I'd love to have an opportunity to get into the elementary school here, start with the youngest we can start with, give them some things to think about. Let them get out in a work project. Let them put their hands in the dirt to plant a tree, to move a rock, to help clear some erosion areas. It's amazing what they can do without the iPhone. You know, it's amazing what they can do when they're outdoors. Look at their faces when they're actually fixing something. Again, get them out of the classroom. So we're extremely high on that. We have intern programs. If you have someone in your community that likes to do work with nonprofits, likes to become or learn more about a volunteer opportunity, we bring those people in, those individuals. We're a really good mentoring group. We got about 13 board members. We are a working board. We don't hire staff, so we do all the work. We have a really solid collection of teachers, lawyers, scientists, real estate agents, sales and marketing, digital marketing, website designers. So we're a good group to put young people around, young students, especially that high school age, that 9th, 10th, 11th grade. They're looking for mentoring. They're looking for what career path do I want to go? So we provide that service. Yes, it's not environmental, but it's something that, you know, it's back to this engagement with our community. So I think that's kind of, again, I could go on and on about what the operation does, but there's a couple things here that the one thing that we're starting to see because of the influx of people moving to this area. They're coming from all areas of the country. They know nothing about our ordinances, laws, some of the rationale for why we permit certain construction near the water areas, easement issues and so forth. So we are starting the SRWA for all of Habersham County. If you want to restore a river or creek bank, you call us. We will walk you through the entire process, start to finish. Your cost structuring, helping you get a engineering design done, permit needs, timelines, and we also, depending on what our funding situation, we can actually help fund some of these projects. On the other side, and this just happened and I have learned a tremendous amount. We had an individual take their backhoe into the Sequoia River a month ago and just starts cleaning both sides of the riverbank out. Okay? Unbelievable. Slap on the wrist. Just don't do that again. Now, common sense, everyone sitting here, that we know we're not supposed to drive a vehicle into the Sequoia River. It's just not allowed. But if you see something, say something. So we will be your voice. You call us, we will make sure that we deal with that particular violator the way that it should be. We just can't let those types of things happen. So in closing, I'd just like to say, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to talk tonight. I'm very passionate about this organization. Love this county. I love where I'm at in Clarksville. I love all of the municipalities. We all do really good work. So with that in mind, I'd like to take any of your questions, please.
I'm always, I've always been willing to speak first. Well, first of all, I want to say that, of course, just like I said earlier, really appreciate the way that what you guys do because it's so important. And last year, last spring, I was taking I saw you out there at the little nature school that they had there at the park.
The Greenway Trail.
The Greenway Trail, right, and you were out there with the Lowe's manager, trying to figure out how that they can help you, and I just was amazed by that. But when you were talking about the youth and going to the schools,
Right.
is absolutely where it starts.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons why I had my grandchildren at the little nature school as part of their homeschooling program.
Yep.
And it just puts in their minds how important these things are and how fragile nature actually is. Now she'll recover, but how we treat these things is very important for many reasons,
Yeah.
including our water supply. But the sequoia, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if this is
Yeah.
wrong, the sequoia is the entire 25 miles is within Habersham County
Yes.
only.
Starts and ends in Habersham County.
It starts and ends, right. It is also an internationally renowned trout fishing
It is.
resource. It's an incredibly precious thing that we have here in Habersham County. Lord, it gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
That, that a lot of places don't get to claim that. Now, Mr. Keith and I both grew up in the Shanley Tucker area of Louisiana, and you have Peachtree Battle Creek. It's tragic. Can you imagine the sequoia looking like that?
Oh.
So we must do everything that we can for that. That said, also, I grew up in Savannah on Tybee Island, and every year we would go out and do a beach sweep, which means that not only just picking up trash on the beach, but also we're in our little john boats in the back river pulling out trash, and you just find some of the most ridiculous things. Recently with Hurricane Helene, I've been working with Patriot Relief to help the people that have suffered there, but the land is also very sick. That storm completely destroyed rivers are flowing in places that they hadn't before. They've had issues with wildfires. They've had issues with more landslides. When it rains, everything comes up out of the banks again because the banks have been destroyed. The silt has filled up and it's full of all kinds of chemicals from septic
It
tanks
is,
and
yeah.
gasoline and oil.
Yep.
So I say all of that protecting the outside, the land around it, and as I understand it, the land around rivers and streams like that actually acts like a sponge. It holds onto
It's a
the water
filtering agent,
and
right.
slowly releases it into
Right.
the river through the ground. So if we're ripping out all the trees and the things that have roots that hold onto that water for dear life until it's like the ground says, okay, I can take a little more and release it into this. If we're ripping all that away,
Yeah.
then I think people just don't know that.
Yeah.
So educating them, I think that's great, and starting from the youth is fantastic. I'm here for whatever we can do now.
Yeah, thanks, Alex, thank you.
What is your organization's stance on water authorities?
Oh, wow. Can you give me like something specific that you really want to, because I mean, it's pretty broad, so.
Yeah, Baldwin being in the unique position that we are with the water system that we have in our drinking straw in the Chattahoochee, we've got to talk about water authorities and, that just, it will gut the city like Baldwin.
I think it's so specific to where everyone lives,
Yeah.
as far as how you want to address this. The water authorities, they do control a lot. They will dictate. Part of what we are now starting to do, because we interact with them now, because they're very helpful for organizations like ours to actually pursue grants. So we are forced in a lot of ways, because of their sign-offs, their evaluation of grants and their direction, is if you work through organizations like ours, we can get those relationships established. We can help you, the municipality, establish those relationships as well. You need to know these people. You need to know how they think, why they think the way they do, and it will have a tremendous impact. So with my position as board president, but also Clarksville City Council member, that helps us a lot when it comes to situations like that. So I would strongly recommend that we have a conversation. Maybe that's another way we can partner as an organization as well as with a municipality, is help give you those development of those partnerships. Okay?
And I think the partnerships are what the grant people like to see.
Oh.
They love to see the people working together.
That's almost the first box on the
Yes, yeah.
checklist, is what are you doing to work with XYZ?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So the item on the agenda tonight says
Yeah.
consideration approval of, fundraising, joining this fundraising effort. Frankly, when I brought this to the city clerk, I wasn't even that specific. I wanted to give Mr. Coppedge an opportunity to speak. I don't know how council feels about supporting the fundraiser, not supporting the fundraiser. I mean, that's what's before us tonight. We could table that and say, thank you, and let us continue to, think about this relationship, develop it. I think it was important that we hear from them, another entity that's looking to conserve water, maintain the water that we have here.
So part of, I think that was kind of how we started the conversation was, oh, by the way, we have a fundraiser coming up. It's our one of 3 a year. It's 20% of our total annual funding is from this soiree. It's a community event. It's a great way to get people together. But as I shared with you earlier, and I'm going to leave this with you, these are handouts. There are so many ways, Stephanie, that the city of Baldwin can interact with the Sequoia River watershed. So if this doesn't happen, there are other ways where you can engage us, and we can work together to do whatever we can to help your situations here as it relates to the environment or water and so forth.
What is it that we can do to support in as far as the conversation that we're having now? Is there something specific? I mean, are we looking for donations or volunteers or?
Okay.
We're getting the word out about this soiree.
So if community can hear about this particular event, because we're only 3 weeks away, we have sold over 10 sponsorships already. So what we're looking for now is whatever sponsorships would eventually come in, possibly Baldwin. There's sponsorship for 8 at a table, which is 1,000, or there's a half a table at 500. So it's whatever the actual cities want to do. We do have Demarest in, we do have Clarksville in, we're still waiting on Cornelia to come in. But there are other ways, and so if you want to do a local marketing campaign, we'll work with you. If you want to do a local project, you want to clean up one of the parks, you want to put a wetland in, you want to do something that puts your name on it, and you want the assistance of the SRWA, engage us. That's a phone call, and we will be here, we'll sit down with you. So, I mean, there's multiple ways to support us, so if you don't mind, I'd like to go ahead and leave this with you, and then you guys can make a decision on what you want to do. So here are the different areas.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it. I would like to take an opportunity to go through the information.
Yeah.
Dialogue between us and them.
I have one question.
Yes.
Does your work, the river is all within Habersham County, does
Yeah.
your work go outside?
So the answer is it will soon,
Okay.
because we are getting, as we get more established, more experienced, better at what we're doing, and we come up with unique and different ways to manage some of these challenges, we're getting people calling us in other watersheds, going, we just heard about what you guys are doing on this and that. Can we kind of work with you to gain that experience as well? The answer is yes. So that's part of that giving back element that we're trying to establish. So thank you for asking that.
So I would there, and if they've got their fundraiser is in 3 weeks, I think for sure, I would be willing to help, just on a personal level, help spread the word. I'm good at doing that. And, so I don't know if there's something else that we can think about tonight, because obviously we would have to, and I know that this is time sensitive, but we definitely should absorb this and talk about it. And
Sure.
figure out how
I
we can.
mean, we can table a vote for tonight and then
Yeah.
talk among ourselves.
Yeah.
Are we comfortable with that?
Mhm.
I need a motion to table, do I need a motion to table this? Sir?
Just kind of curious, what are the fundraiser events,
I'm sorry.
what do you do, and is there public involvement?
Yeah.
What-
Well, first of all, 100% public involvement. So everything we do, we call them community events, because it encompasses the entire Habersham County. So the events are, we have a fly fishing auction that used to be January, and we pull off fly fishing trips for anglers at some of the trophy trout fishing locations. That now will be in September. That's what the fishing operators wanted. And then the other one would be the spring soiree, which will be coming up in April, on April 12th. And then the last one is the June 17th golf outing. And we have usually 80 to 100 people that play in that, and those are it. Everything else, we are interacting, we are doing grants, but we're engaging individuals who have been in the community for a long time, and they'll write the $20,000 checks. And they'll write the $10,000 checks because they don't want this to go away. They know how important this is, so.
As a real estate agent, I do get a lot of people that they just want to buy land, not to build anything on, just because they love fishing that much.
Yeah. And
Honest to queen.
And one of the challenges, though, is that we talked about educating a minute ago about the students and the children. We spend a lot of time with the individuals that come in and buy these pieces of property, and they own a chainsaw. Well, the first thing they want to do is cut down about every tree along the bank, because they want to do the a river runs through it kind of concept, and we are actively engaging those people, because if we see the fact that there's trees coming down, then we're usually on that property pretty darn quick.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned, we are a working board. We don't hire staff, so all of our fundraising goes directly back into our projects. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, can I have a motion to table the consideration of approval of Sophie River Watershed Association fundraiser with many thanks to Mr. Cottage for being here? I have a motion from Councilman Venter, do I have a second? I have a second from Councilwoman Lehman, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries, thank you. Thank you so much for being
Thank you.
here, really appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Second item under new business is consideration approval of public works vac truck. Is that what Scott? Yes.
We perked up when we said that.
Well, the fact that we had work done again today. Let's see, get this in the packet up there.
Yes, they have.
Have that.
They have the quote.
Okay. And what this is a non-CDL, they finally came out with a non-CDL truck. There's a few companies that have this, we've looked at all of them over a period of the last few years, and they started coming out with them. And what this is a non-CDL truck, so it's a little bit smaller, some of you have seen it in person. It takes the burden of not having somebody with a CDL that can drive it. It's one of the main focuses as they're becoming harder and harder to get CDLs now. You actually have to go to school. That's a wild concept. You'd actually have to go to school to learn how to drive. So, but now they're making them do that. So it's harder and harder to get CDL drivers. So that's the importance of a non-CDL truck. What this truck is a dual purpose. It can both work as a sewer clean out for cleaning wet wells and sewer lines and jetting sewer lines. Has a sewer jetter on it also, but it also has the triple system of filtration where you can use it for a hydro excavator. So you can go out and it has a separate wand and special tube, and you can actually go out, and if you have a small leak, you can actually, instead of calling 811 and waiting for whenever they get there, to come and locate before you can dig with a machine, this you don't need to locate. You can go out right then and there to a water leak and start hydro excavating the stuff out, fix the leak, cover it back in and be gone before the time the locator would even get there. It has a lot of other applications as far as the city, as they were touched on Stormwater, you know, stormwater is coming. We're not quite there yet, but it is coming, and a lot of the bigger cities and counties, they use these same trucks for cleaning out storm drains. Your catch basins, things like that, where you go down, they get debris and stuff, and they take these out, they pop the manhole off, they clean the debris out, and they're down the road.
Yeah.
You know, we have one now, that's larger than this, it has to have a CDL to drive it. Other than myself and my supervisor, there's one other guy that can drive it. But that's not a real issue for us, because mainly doesn't run long enough to do that. But this would take that truck's place. I can,
I would imagine that the hydro excavating part of it too. I know you guys, heard you complain about having the track hoe out there and digging down and like barely breathe on some of those older lines, and they're fracturing
Right.
80 feet, which is all of that has to be replaced.
right.
So I would imagine that would be a little bit
It
different.
does. And as far as even doing new services, you can, you know, if you have somewhere, we have one to do over in Chandler Heights, and as you know, in Chandler Heights, everything runs on the shoulders. Power, fiber, phone,
Yeah.
cable, and they're all, never fails that when they install that stuff, they love to put it as close to the water line as possible. So even when you're trying to pothole it, we've cut phone lines and how potholing them. So this, you just go down to your main and you can expose all the wires. There's some really good videos on YouTube that shows these trucks working and how they get down there, and there's this spaghetti of wires and stuff over your water lines, and you can just get right to it. So it's a game changer, really, to have one that works correctly.
What can we do with the old one if we get the new one?
Surplus it.
How old is it?
It's pretty bad shape.
It is. Unfortunately, we've been, we fix it all the time, and it
Yeah.
goes up, and they route the age, and it has, they changed some of the hydraulic filters in the front that were way up under it, trying to get the pressure to come down, because the hydraulic pressure normally runs about 1,200 PSI, and it's up into 4,000 range. And he says, well, it could be these, it has like 5 different filters on it in the stream, so they cleaned all of them, replaced them to bring that pressure down. Unfortunately, it only dropped the pressure about 300 pounds. So now he says, so now you're looking at a hydraulic pump.
Yeah.
So,
I think we band-aid that thing together to
yeah,
just
pretty
this thing
much.
turns.
And a truck is a Sterling. If you don't know anything about trucks, it's a Sterling, which doesn't even exist anymore.
Mhm.
How old is it?
And, oh my Lord, I think it is a 96, 97, something like that. And they're using them, they're actually selling for decent money now, the Sterlings, because people can't get parts.
Can't get
So they're
parts,
buying
right.
them just for the parts of the trucks.
Yeah.
We had a fan, the radiator fan went out on that one, and it was down for 2 months, and they got it off of eBay in Arizona or somewhere. So it's just parts like that.
Remind me, because you know, our back truck, you've had to come to us, you know, over my last 7 years,
Right.
several times about it. And I think one time, when we were talking about what it would cost to just have a company, come out and just clean out the, not detention ponds, what am I trying to say? Out of the water plant, the lagoons. And it was something like astronomical.
Well, the lagoons, that's different.
Is that not?
That's different. No, we rented a long reach track hoe this time.
That's right, I remember that.
But
didn't we
the
use-
wastewater plant, the wet well over there, we have
That's
to go
what
over
we
there
did.
and they'll call up and want us to come over and clean out the wet
Yeah.
well. And they've been after us to clean out the wet well now for, I don't know, 3 months, 4 months, longer than that. And I keep having to tell them, the truck's not up. The
Yeah.
truck's not up.
Yeah.
We can't, you know, not to mention the sewer lift stations we have, we clean those out because they accumulate trash and
The
everything.
spring woods.
And, you know, in a perfect world, you could go around once a week and clean them out. And, the cleaner you can keep your wet well, the better it is for your pumps, everything else. So it's just one of those things. And we've looked at this and looked at different models. We had a demo up and did that, and actually have a thing like they do with the fire truck on this one, where they'll go through GMA and they can do annual payment. You have more information on that, but actually build it right into the budget. So it's just built into the budget.
Okay.
I have another question on
Sure.
the new truck that you're looking at. Is there an anticipated life on it?
A lifespan on a truck like that, to be conservative, you're probably well maintained, something that they don't have any problem with. I could foresee that truck lasting 15, 20 years, maybe more. Everything, whether it's a brand new car or a piece of equipment, the better you maintain it, the more you stay on top of it, the better training you give the people who operate it, the longer of a life cycle it will have. Heavy equipment, which is that's basically classified as equipment, it's not uncommon to have. We have a backhoe now that's given us a little bit of trouble in the last 10 years, but that backhoe is 25 years old. Just maintaining it. So just take care of it, maintain it. The only thing that'll wear out will be the truck and the mileage. In a 4.9 square mile city, I don't see that being an issue.
So the truck that you present here, is this the one that was demoed that Councilwoman?
Well, it's not
wanted to go
that
see?
truck.
one,
It's
but-
not that truck. They build them to order.
Okay.
You order it, you put what you want on it,
Mhm.
and then they have a 5 to 6 month lead time on getting it built. Yeah, it's not the one. And the truck comes on a Freightliner chassis, which the good thing about Freightliner chassis is the Freightliner dealership who maintains the truck while the truck is under warranty is in Commerce. That's where the dealership is. And Freightliner's been around forever, so they're not going anywhere soon.
And you say that right now we have 3 people with the CDL. Out of your staff, how many people would be able to pilot the ship? It was.
Out of 9 people, I'd say 8.
Okay. It was a behemoth. I was amazed when I saw it.
Oh, if you park it next to the one we have now, it's actually dwarf down.
Wow.
It's shorter and not as tall, but
Where would you keep this one?
inside the bay. Somebody else asked me that, because we built our water pipe rack in the bay now and got it all set up and everything, and they were saying, what are we gonna park? He said, well, if we get a vac truck, I said, vac truck's staying in the building, that's where it's gonna park. So, I mean, it's like everything else, the better you take care of it, the longer it's gonna last. And that's quite an investment for something that you wanna make sure that it is taken care of properly and maintained properly.
What motor is it running?
Running that, oh, you got me on something. Things is, the one they brought actually was having an issue with starting. He said it didn't do that till it got cold.
Power stroke?
And,
The power stroke?
no, it would turn over before it started. And I said, well, the problem with that is that it was cold. And the guy driving it, I think he's a demo guy. But he doesn't know that, when things are cold, especially diesel, turn the key on, hold it for a second, let the glow plugs warm up before you try to start it. So I think that's what it was. But it's I can find it in here for you somewhere. It's in that pamphlet. But it's unlike the one we have now. The one we have now has 2 motors. It has a truck engine, and then it has a pony motor that runs the back. This is a 1 unit. The vehicle engine runs the pump and the vacuum and everything. So it's one thing. I mean,
It's not a big deal.
Huh?
It's not a big deal, we can find it later.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
it is a Cummins
oh,
motor.
okay, yeah.
That helps.
Okay, that's all it is.
It's a Cummins motor, so.
Okay. If can we talk about how to pay for this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Sounds
Alright, somebody else.
Thank you,
Any
sir.
questions for me on that? No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna make them
So who want the lottery tickets?
If only. Well, good evening. All right, so behind the quote, the cost of the vac truck, in total is $405,697. And our proposal, is to go through GMA similarly to, when we bought the fire truck, a couple of years ago. And, they have a 5-year option and a 7-year option, to pay for it over time. So it is a lease agreement, but the end is for us to own it at the end of 7 years. So with 5 years, it's a 4.69% interest rate. The annual payment is $92,904. The 7-year option is a 4.64% interest rate, and the annual payment is $69,200. So overall, by extending it 2 years, we're paying an additional $20,000. However, the $69,000, we feel comfortable adding that to the budget for next year with some of the offsetting expenses that Scott has experienced this year, or is proposing for this year. With these lease agreements, we have a master agreement with GMA already. So for those of you who were here before, the fire truck had a number of other contracts that went with it. However, this one is just a continuation of that master contract. This is the lease agreement for this specific truck only. It is our recommendation to go with the 7 years to lock in that 4.64% interest rate. We are required to adopt this decision by April 21st. So it does not have to be decision tonight if you want to take some time and think through that. We just need to give GMA an answer by April 21st. Otherwise, it's not a no. We would just have to go back to the credit agency to determine what that will look like after April 21st. I think those were my points. Any questions about the GMA's lease agreement? I know some of you haven't gone through that lease process, but it is pretty cut and dry. It is our Georgia Municipal Association is the one who's holding those funds for us. The fire truck. Oh, I did forget a point. The first payment on that loan or that lease is not until a year after you've received the vehicle. So Scott mentioned there's a 5 to 6 month lead time on receiving it. We won't start making that payment until we have it a year later. So our anticipation is for the FY27 fiscal year, that budget.
There's no, from the legal side of it, finding future council issues into this one. I mean, being in the position that we're in, as a city with water, we really need it.
There's a lot to maintain.
We're pushing it off another month.
There's a lot to maintain, and then there's manpower. You know, we don't have 20 people to just sit around and do all these things, you know. And I was calculated, like, so we say that's 15, it lasts us 15 years, you're really looking at like $2,500 over per year for, we pay it all up at front, and then there's interest on it, but if we're getting 20 years of being kept well in a location that we built to maintain things and keep them nice, we're operating well, and the cost to actually operate it is much lower than when you look at that big old $405,000, like, oh, but really,
It helps us maintain other,
and then there's the trickle down, right, so, yeah.
what's the feeling of council?
I'm good with, voting on.
Yeah, but I'd like to read the, yeah.
Okay, so, let's, Martin, you okay with table it until our next meeting? Okay, I would need a motion to table consideration approval of the public works back track until our next meeting, or some time to look over the materials.
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Venter, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilman Keith, all those in favor? Any opposed?
You know what I mean, like from the company that builds this machine, that tells us all the fancy little fun things that it does.
I'll email that to you.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Okay, the next item on our agenda tonight is consideration approval of the Banks Ridge paving project.
I'm actually gonna let Scott explain these two projects, and then I'll tell you how we propose to pay for it. The two paving projects.
I'm explaining what you're saying, how to pay for it.
Our paving projects,
Oh,
Bates County
paving.
and Highland Point.
Right, I got you. Well, actually, it's two separate projects. One of them is Highland Point subdivision. I don't know if y'all been through it, but that's gonna take quite a bit of work to get that to where we can go in there and get that repaved for those people that live there. The project is that if you go in the main entrance and go around the circle, the lower, what I call the lower part of the circle that drops down, that area over there has the most potholes. I mean, car killer potholes, giant potholes.
And that's Banks
We
Ridge.
have
Oh,
been,
Highland Point, yeah.
Highland Point, and we've been expending pallets of patch, just trying to keep them to where they're not. And it's a losing battle. So what I'm proposing is there's 1,053 feet of both lanes that is the worst going down that back straightaway there, to have a company come in and mill it all out and come back with binder. And the reason for the binder is it'll be, it's very coarse, it's not like a nice topping, but that's what basically the whole subdivision was binder at one time. One of the better fits for that subdivision, and EMI, Corey that works for EMI in paving, we talked about it, and we feel that it would be a very good candidate to do Highland Point with the product they call soil cement, where they come in and they grind it up, they mix porcelain cement with it, and it's a process, but when you have a road that has no good base underneath it, it's one of the better ways to do it. So if they come in and do a deep patch, we call deep patching on that back section to get rid of all those potholes, as where it's not a perfect fix for it, it is something that will last until they can come in and do this soil cement. So whatever material is put down, when they come in to do that soil cement, it'll be ground up and then put right back. They recycle it right back into it and basically create a base with it. One of the problems with doing that project over there is when they originally did it, they put the manholes in and then they laid out the road. So you have some manholes where the elevation of the top of the manhole lid is even with their driveways and not the curb and gutter, or not the gutter. So you have some oil pan catching manholes that are over there. So part of this project would be not just the milling and repaving that section, but there's 5 manholes that a company would have to come in and adjust the grade of the manholes down to where when they do pave it, they'll be at the proper elevation for the pavement. So all that's included in this, have a company come in, re-elevate the manholes where they need to be, come in, mill it out, and find it.
The manholes are a separate project.
Yeah, it's a separate project, but it's still part of this process.
But that's not what, it's not.
It's not in this, it's an extra cost that's gonna be in there. We're gonna try to fund it the same way. Yeah, okay, we're on the same page.
So the information from EMI that we got is just for the deep patch.
Right, that's just for the patch. The estimate for the re-elevate the manhole, still waiting on one more to come back. Had one company do a no bid on it, which they're just real big. They've done work for the city before. They were big. One I got back, I believe, is $13,500 to do those manholes. And I'm still waiting on one more, so we haven't got that far to go. So anyway, that's the Highland Point project right there as far as paving. The other one is the Banks Ridge subdivision. And that is gonna be from the Banks County T-Splosh
We got cheers.
We're not doing it in front of her house.
She's gonna be out there, making sure that no one's on by.
That's the,
I'm in Bankstridge too.
oh, okay. Yeah, we went over last week and had them camera all the cross drains to make sure they were good and didn't need to be replaced before we put this out to bid, because we would have had to add that to it. And we're pretty fortunate they're all plastic, so they're all good. And that's what that is doing that entire subdivision. What the cost on there, you had to break down that.
Can we go back to to Highland Point for just a moment? I'd like to take an opportunity, since we have some folks in the, audience. What our minimum development standards when Highland Point was developed, like several of the neighborhoods within the city of limits of Baldwin, we didn't have very stringent standards, and, the result of that is that we now have to look at paving, these neighborhoods. We don't do that in Baldwin anymore, and we've had some, media attention about our minimum development standards, and some complaints about that, but this is why we have them, so that in 30 years, 40 years, we're not having to come to the taxpayers and say, hey, we're gonna ask you to fix these mistakes that these developers are long gone with their checks. This is the reason why. So, prime example. Thanks for letting me make that point.
Thank you.
Are we paying for it, Scott?
Actually, Banks Ridge subdivision is Banks County East Block.
East Boston.
The funding's already there for that.
Right.
They're really good.
Good.
Moving right along in Banks County, really.
Yeah.
When could this start?
Well, as soon as they authorize EMI to
So
put it
tonight's-
out for,
Yeah,
Put
so
it out
tonight's
to bid.
request is
Right.
to allow us to put this out to bid.
Yep.
So we don't have bids back yet for council to approve and actually allocate the funds for it. My intention tonight was to get the authorization for us to put it out to bid with your understanding that both projects have full funding already available. So the total project cost, I did not communicate with Fletcher to separate the, so engineering support costs between Habersham County and Banks County, because they are separate funding sources.
Yeah.
So that's not on there. However, just so that you're aware, the LMIG funds that we're proposing to use for Highland Point is the $67,000 grants that we got, that is a non-matching LMIG funds that we got
Oh, yeah.
at the end of last year.
Yeah.
We're actually applying for it again to get an additional $65,000. So we're trying to make progress in Highland Point. It is a big undertaking, especially for a road that was not completed.
Yeah. Right.
Before we accepted that. So we are diligently
Did you say
working
that
on
again, that it wasn't completed?
It was
It was
not
not
completed.
completed.
Before we accepted it, right.
Yeah.
That was not us, I'm just gonna let y'all know now.
Long time ago. So LMAG can cover both the $42,000 for the paving, and then the project costs associated with that. And then the Banks County roads, the total cost, we currently have $499,000 in that T-SPOS account. We've been building this one up for, I think, 2
Yeah.
years now to make sure that we had enough for Banks Ridge.
Which means that we don't have to go to the property owners and say, hey, you need to give us a check.
That's
You're
correct.
safe
So
with that.
they're fully funded, we just need the authorization to go ahead and put them.
That's good, that's brilliant, thank you.
So, I got a question. You said, the Banks Ridge, what roads are gonna be replaced or
What
upgraded? In the Banks Ridge development, what roads are gonna be upgraded?
All of them.
All the way through the development, in front of all houses?
All
Yeah, the note we have here is Banks Ridge, Banks Highland, Banks Terrace.
Okay. And my questions are not opposing it, I'm very in favor of it. But I guess the question is, traffic in and out, how do we get in and out while this is going on?
Before we do that subdivision, they'll post something on social media. They'll make announcements that we're at this date, when it gets close to it, dates that we're gonna be in there paving. They'll let you know ahead of time. They'll have traffic control there to be able to get you in and out. Fortunately, unlike some of the other roads that we have that are very, very narrow, that cause a lot of it, that's pretty good wide roads in there, so they can do one lane at a time and still get traffic by. Shouldn't be an issue at all.
Okay, so staff to put the Banks Ridge paving project out to bid. I have a motion from Councilman Venter. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilman Keith. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And then we'll move right on to number 4, consideration of approval of Highland Point. Can I have a motion to authorize city staff to put the Highland Point subdivision paving project out to bid? So moved. I have a motion from Councilwoman Venter. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilwoman Davis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Next item on the agenda is consideration approval of the backhoe repairs. Is that Woodmaster? Ooh.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to explain this. I'll give him a break.
Wear him out tonight.
This is repair tobacco. It's implied there. The cost, so when we initially got the cost estimate, it was under 5,000. When we got into it, they realized it was gonna cost us $1,500 more. So, it's now $5274.81, which is above our threshold, so it's coming before the council for approval, but it is a budgeted expense.
Any questions from Ms. Woodmaster?
What happened to it?
Okay. Can I have a motion to, I'm sorry?
I said what broke?
Well, okay.
Well, first it was the injector pump, and then when they got into it, there were metal shavings in the injectors, and now they have to replace all the injectors. That's where the extra cost came in above what was actually quoted for the pump and the labor and everything. When they got into it further and decided they seen more damage, so they had to replace it. That's what the extra cost.
Can I have a motion to approve the backhoe repairs expense not to exceed $5,300 as presented? So moved. I have a motion from Councilwoman Venter. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilwoman Davis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Last item under new business, consideration approval of Everbridge contract.
So this is the, we talked about this at our work session. This is a public notification system that will allow us to communicate with all of our residents, whether they want a text message or an email. They can also download the app to interact with it, to see if there's any updates. As people are coming through the community, they'll also get a notification if it's impacting their drive-through area. There is the upfront cost. The annual cost is $5,400 a year. That is based on our anticipated population, current and anticipated population, but in the event that it changes, this is only an annual contract, so it would be renegotiated if the rate changes. Our proposal at work session was to pass this cost through to every utility customer. So every bill in our system would be charged 23 cents monthly for this service. Everyone would have access to it. You just sign up for it. It's not contingent upon you paying for the service. It is the utility users that will be paying for it.
23 cents.
23 cents.
And, Emily, so this system could also be used when there's construction going on in the neighborhood to notify people of the construction and different routes, et cetera.
Yes, that's correct.
Water notices, all sorts of, and this is one of those, I think, I wanted to mention earlier when we were talking about the repairs during, for the big leaks. This, there were, the people on social media and the complaints and things like that. It sparked something, and it's something that I think 23 cents, I can defend that. 23 cents a month.
Well, you can for it. I
Yeah.
mean, Councilwoman Davis and I were both getting messages from residents who said, I'm an older person, I don't go on Facebook,
Yeah.
I don't have.
Right.
I didn't know.
Right.
And then this would be an alert for those folks. Did we get Councilwoman Lehman's question answered about master meters and the customers there? Yes? Okay, I just don't remember.
What's the question? Oh, like if they would have access to it?
Yes.
Yes, everyone would have
Oh, yeah,
access
that's
to
right,
it.
okay.
So it's a citywide service. It's gonna be the phone number, the email, all of that will be on our website. We'll let everyone know that it's available. You don't have to receive a utility bill to access the service.
Right. questions? Okay,
I have a question.
sir?
What kind of alerts are available on there? Is that also include like weather alerts, severe weather alerts? Or is it mostly?
If we put it in there, yes. So if we knew that there was gonna be, I don't know.
Tornado watches or. things
Yeah,
like
or
that.
if the governor declares a state of emergency, we can push that out too and say he's declared a state of emergency, here's the information. But you can have there's a text message option, an email option, and a phone option, so they can call you.
And this is gonna be on an app?
You don't have to download the app, you just have to sign up for the service. So if you want a text message or a phone call, the service provider, you just let them know, this is my city of Baldwin, and this is how I wanna receive notifications. So you don't have to download the app, you can absolutely get an email, just a regular text message or a phone call. It'll be like a voice recording if you don't answer.
When we had the big water break, there was a boil water alert. Some folks didn't know there was a boil water alert. We wanted to let people know your water's going to be out tomorrow after 2 o'clock because we're gonna be working on something. So it would be that kind of immediate information for our customers.
And we also have just one customer at the moment, but that, things change, but that customer depends on our water to clean their medical equipment. And if they, the more notification they've got, the better, because if they get notification too late, your doctor has to put them on an antibiotic, just as a precaution. So, again, I think I could defend 23 cents for some folks, especially like that. It's good to have those notices.
Okay. Hearing no other questions or comments, get in a motion to approve the Everbridge contracting to authorize the CAO to execute the contract as presented. I have a motion from Councilwoman Lehman. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a second from Councilwoman Venter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
That's true.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is executive session. We do have one this evening. So instead of keeping media here late, it's become our custom to do announcements first, and then we will move into executive session and then come back and close the meeting officially after that. So the first announcement this evening, homestead exemption affidavits for 2025 property taxes are due April 1st. If you do not have a homestead exemption, stop by City Hall or call 706-778-6341 to find out the exemption for which you qualify. If you have a city exemption, but not a county exemption, contact your county clerk. The April 8th work session will take place in the Baldwin Police Training Center located directly behind the Baldwin Police Department at the usual time of 6:30 p.m. The Baldwin City Council Spring 2025 retreat will be April 10th and 11th from 8 to 5 p.m. at EMI's Habersham office at 202 Luthi Road, Alto, Georgia, 30510. Formal notice and agenda to follow. The 26th Annual Baldwin Cleanup Day is April 19th. Join us at Theron Ayers Park from 9 to 12 p.m. to clean up Baldwin roads and plant a tree. The public will be there collecting items that normally must go to the landfill, including appliances, scrap metal, and furniture. Tires, batteries, and paint cans will be accepted, but they must be separated from other items. All items must be placed out on the curb by 8 a.m. on Monday, April 14th. Sign up is required for pickup service. Call 706-778-6341 by April 11th to get your name on the list. Ms. Woodmaster, location?
It's actually Mitchell Gailey.
It's actually Mitchell Gailey, yeah. Okay, folks, if you were listening, cleanup day is actually gonna start at Mitchell Gailey. And is there a little something after?
There may or may not be an Easter egg.
There may or may not be Easter egg hunt. So if you need people to hide eggs, is where picking up trash. So, all right, that's at Mitchell Gailey. Any announcements from council?
Yes, I would like to address, just very quickly, because I don't think that it deserves a whole lot of time. But the mayor received a letter at her home that was not signed by anyone in particular, just a concerned citizen And I'd like to go ahead and read that letter out. I'll be really quick about it. This person said that they sent a copy to now Habersham, but anyway, says, I sent a copy of this to Stephanie Omani, Mayor of Baldwin, and would like now Habersham to also know about this matter. Dear Mayor, I have noticed that one or both of the ventures are absent from each council meeting. They were always being connected by phone. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the last time they both attended a meeting was on October 15th, 2024. I don't believe this should be allowed, especially do not believe they should be paid when they are not present. I understand that a person might be sick every now and then, but I don't believe this is the case when it's happening at each meeting. I believe this is a very important position and should be handled just like being at work each day. I would really like for the council to adopt some type of requirement which should be adhered to by each member. I know your retreat is coming up real soon, and I believe this should be one of the items to be covered. Sincerely, a very concerned citizen, CC, now Habersham. So, I know.
Oh, no name, huh?
No name, no. And that's okay, perhaps. You know, and I'm okay with that, but you see this right here? I have a little bruise on my arm. This is my second steroid shot in a month. And since September, my family has had a round robin with some really weird icky virus. We have had strep throat, upper respiratory infections, pneumonia, ear infections, and you can obviously hear I'm not speaking like I normally do. But I have my doctor, which I just saw the other day, print out all of my doctor's notes, and this is just one doctor that I've been to. So this person said that we also went back in our Facebook feed and counted all of the times it was either he's sick and I'm not, or I'm sick and he's not, and so forth and so on. And the reason we don't bring this here is, but I also don't want to get my colleagues sick, but most importantly, the mayor has an elderly mother she takes care of, and who's been having to have surgery, so sorry to share that. But I don't want to bring something that my family has not been able to kick in 4 months for her to bring that home to her family. So, you know, I would hope that anyone that had concerns about that could reach out to me directly. But, you know, another thing about being paid, I don't mind not being paid when I do actually call in and participate and vote and have discussion when we call in. We're not the only board that does this. All of the other boards in this county do that, and so they're just watching this one. But if you can't sign your name to something, then you don't get to send it to the media and have it published.
That's right.
Right, so thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
I invest a good amount of emotional energy on something that's unsigned, about as much as I would kicking a rock in the road. If you're not willing to put your name behind it, then just be quiet.
Right.
Another thing is, I take off 2 hours every work session.
Yep.
And if I don't work, I don't get paid.
Right.
I take cut pay at work to be here.
You missed
Because I'm
one.
supposed to be at work till 7 o'clock. So, you know, I do that because it's the right thing to do. But sometimes I cannot break away.
Right.
And I'm stuck there on the phone in a meeting while working. So, that's my piece of it.
We
I'm done.
appreciate your
Yep.
participation. Any other announcements from council? Any from staff?
I have one question. For clarification, it says that Baldwin cleanup day is April 19th. On the next page, it says we're supposed to have all items out by 8 AM on the Monday the 14th.
So there are two things that happen. Cleanup day is when we actually go and we pick up trash from the city streets. So you'll see us walking around and we've got our garbage bags. Then it's also a cleanup day. So it's an opportunity for residents who have accumulated things that they just can't get rid of themselves.
Boxes, that garbage.
Boxes that the trash company don't pick up. You know, but if you have small appliances, if you have, you know, I've got a vacuum cleaner, I've got things that we can put out. And we actually last year started the paint and tire pickup and battery. That was a game changer for a lot of people who are accumulating these things and don't know how to dispose of them properly, so they don't end up in the Chattahoochee or the Soquoi or
side of the road.
Yeah, Scott, again, Public Works
Yeah.
team has been absolutely amazing. Call and get your name on the list, okay? If you have things, and then you can put them out, just separate as indicated here.
I would add that they're coming, the reason that it's, we're requesting for it to be out on the 14th is because Public Works goes out the entire week picking stuff up. So that's why it's so
Yeah.
early. It's not just on that day that they're out there picking it up and we're out there picking up trash. They're out there all week going through the neighborhoods.
Yeah, it'll start on the 14th.
My question was just to clarify the date.
Yes.
It was kind of confusing with.
Yeah,
place
so
saying
the
19th.
cleanup week, right, begins on the 14th. You can have your things out there. And if you wanna come help pick up trash on the 19th, I
Yeah.
would love, I would love
It's
your
been fun,
company.
yeah.
Yeah, it's always a
fun.
nice day.
It really is.
It's a good day.
We find some weird stuff too.
And
Okay.
Stephanie, can I ask Emily something?
Ma'am.
On that app or whatever, or text, can they do anything about like when the trash pickup is different for the week?
Yes.
Cause I always
We
call
can
City
notify
Hall.
them.
Oh,
Okay.
Yep.
That's
we
a
sure
great
can.
question.
It's just,
Yeah.
if there's gonna be like a delay in service, if they've pushed everything back by a day, we can push out that notification.
Okay.
Cause
You know,
Well,
our
there's a holiday.
oldest one used to just text us Wednesday night and said, make sure your trash is out, and that was always so nice.
If there's a holiday in the week, sometimes that changes the schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'd be great. Thank you.
okay. We have some more business, council. Can I have a motion to close the regular session and move into executive session for personnel?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Venture. Do you have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilman Keith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?